Hi people, it's me Anja, my pronouns are she and her, and welcome back to my channel for part 2 of my favorite middle grade fantasies. Honestly, I think that I meant to do this video much earlier, much closer to part 1, but I think with everything else that I was filming, it completely went under the radar. So anyway, here I am, much later than I was anticipating. But anyway, the first book on this list is called The Accidental Apprentice. This book is a middle grade fantasy following a young boy who accidentally bonds with a beast and must go on a journey to figure out why. This book is absolutely so good, and it's so well done. First of all, it's written by one of my favorite authors of all time, Foody, who's such a genius. I'm so excited for the next installment in this series. The second book in the series was one of my most anticipated 2022 new releases, and it absolutely lived up to that hype, and we love to see it. Anyway, this book is so good, because first of all, the world building is so immersive, and it's absolutely so creative and so cohesive, and it's so easy to understand. Second of all, the characters are so well developed and so distinct. Foody does characters like no other. The plot was so intriguing and absolutely so engaging, and so well done. This story is absolutely so amazing, and I love it literally so much. So with that, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Emblem the Ice Dragons. This book is another middle grade fantasy that follows a young girl who can turn into a dragon, which is a fun and fancy talent, and honestly seems so cool. Imagine turning into another animal at will. That's so cool. But anyway, the point is, that's not the safest skill to have amongst dragon hunters. So that's a bit of an issue. But anyway, this book is so good, and it's absolutely so underrated. First of all, I love animal fantasies, and this book and the world building was literally so good, and it was so creative. This author is literally so talented, and I will read everything that she writes. Her books are so amazing, at least her middle grade fantasy ones. Anyway, aside from the awesome immersive world building, the plot was so intriguing and absolutely so engaging. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The friendships made were so wholesome and absolutely so lovely. This book is so good and it's so underrated. So with that, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Osmo Unknown in the Eightpenny Woods. This book is a middle grade fantasy that follows a young boy that must make a journey into the magical realm of the dead in order to fulfill a bargain for his people. This book was so good. First of all, the world building was so amazing, and it was absolutely so creative and so cohesive and so well done. And it absolutely reminded me of Tahara Mafi's book, Wilderlore, which I believe was inspired by Alice in Wonderland, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, aside from the awesome and creative world building, the plot was so intriguing and it was absolutely so engaging. This story also reminded me a lot of the Phantom Toll Booth. You know what I mean? Anyway, the characters were so well developed and so distinct, and I loved the friendship between all the characters on the cover. This story is so good, and it was absolutely so well done, because it was so immersive, and it was so creative, and it was so intriguing and so engaging, with every single element in it. The world building, the plot, the characters, the friendship, everything about it. This story is so amazing, and it deserves so much more hype. So with that, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Sparrow Rising. This book is a middle grade fantasy set in a world where everybody is born with wings, and it follows a young girl who wants to be a knight until she meets people who make her question her morals and basically everything that she believes in, which I love. I love it when main characters are forced to challenge and question everything that they believe in, because I think that's so cool and it's so authentic. And second of all, I love creative, fantastical worlds where there's a hierarchy set in place. I'm not completely sure why I love that so much, but anyway, in this world, it was so well done, and it was so creative, and it felt so authentic. This author is literally so talented, and again, I will read everything that she writes. At least, I will read all of her middle grade fantasy stories. Anyway, aside from the awesomely creative world building, the plot was so engaging, and it was absolutely so intriguing. I just read the second book to this trilogy, and it was absolutely so good. This book is so cohesive and it's so well done. The characters are so well developed and so distinct, and I love their friendship so much. This book is absolutely so underrated, and with that, I would highly recommend it. The next book on this list is called Eva Evergreen, Semi-Magical Witch. This book is a middle-grade Asian-inspired fantasy that follows a young girl who must go on a journey to prove her worth, or else she might lose her magic forever. This book was so good. First of all, I love stories with underdog main characters so much because at the start of the story, it already makes them relatable and authentic. Second of all, the plot was so engaging, it was absolutely so intriguing. This author is literally so talented at writing middle grade fantasies, and I'm so excited for her next book, which I believe is set in the same world and universe as this book, and I think it's called Ariana Girl of Dragons, and it comes out in August, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, the plot of the story was so engaging and absolutely so intriguing and so well developed. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. The world building was so creative and so cohesive and absolutely so immersive. This book is absolutely so good and it's so awesome. The sequel was so well done as well. If you didn't know, this book is the first in a duology. But anyway, this book is so good and it's absolutely so underrated. So with that, I would highly recommend it. The last book on this list, and certainly not the least, is called The Last Mapmaker. This book is a middle-grade fantasy that follows a young girl who's trying to unburden herself from her past and find her own destiny. This book was so good. First of all, the world building was so well done. It was absolutely so creative and so cohesive and absolutely so immersive. And if I'm not mistaken, it's inspired by Thailand, which really seeped through the pages, and I can really tell from like all of the culture and everything, if that really makes sense. The plot was so engaging and it was absolutely so intriguing. The characters were so well developed and so distinct. I was so immersed in the story from the beginning to the end. This story is absolutely so good and it's so underrated, and I personally think that this book deserves more hype than the author's previous book, A Wish in the Dark. So with that said, this book was so amazing and it was absolutely so awesome because it was so intriguing and it was so engaging, and I loved it literally so much. So anyway, with all of that said, I would definitely highly recommend this book. So, in conclusion, since this video is a part 2, I will leave in the description box below part 1 in case you want some more recommendations. I thought it would be fitting to make a video about middle grade fantasies since the hype for Percy Jackson and the Olympians has been happening lately, especially with the new castings of Annabeth and Grover recently. But anyway, with that said, I hope that you enjoy this video because I had a really fun time filming it. If you didn't know, I love reading middle grade fantasies since middle grade is one of my favorite audiences to read from, and fantasy is my number 1 favorite genre. But anyway, with all that said, if you enjoy this video, please don't hesitate to give it a big thumbs up. Comment down below the basketball emoji if you made it all the way to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe to my channel if you're new, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!